Disclaimer, we'd like to note before the start of this interview that the opinions about to be expressed by the guest on tonight's Gettin Salty Experience podcast are that of the guest and do not directly or necessarily reflect the views of the host of the Gettin Salty Experience podcast.
Put the fucking fire out!
You're listening to the Gettin Salty Experience podcast.
Hello, Nancy Carbone.
Nice.
Nancy Carbone. Welcome back to the Gettin Salty Experience podcast. It's the only one that brings the firehouse. Oh wait, somebody else brings the firehouse kitchen table to you. I'm sorry.
Oh wait,
I'm sorry. I thought
we got
I
a
was the only
blended
one.
show for you tonight. Blended show.
I thought I was. It's the only one that brings the firehouse kitchen table to you. That's right. Look at this star-studded panel we have tonight.
Look at this lineup. Look at this lineup.
Look at this lineup. Grab your hankies, right, and be ready to go through the wide range of emotions that we call mental health. Right, Mike?
Oh, yeah, I got plenty of stories.
We all have plenty of stories. We have
That's
a legend,
correct.
a living legend, double L squared. Chief Vincent Dunn with us tonight, sharing his stories.
Yes, welcome. We'll give you a little.
Woo, woo. Nancy Carbone from Friends of Firefighters.
Yes, we'll give you another one. We'll give you the baseball one.
Oh, there we go. Ron to the Zoni. Everybody knows Ron to the Zoni. Oh, Ron knows everybody.
Ron knows everybody. I'll give you a little short one.
And Mikey Milner and Kenny Delaney all coming in to talk about something that we need to talk about frequently, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to tell you right off the bat is I need you guys, because Friends of Firefighters is run solely on contributions. I'm going to hit you over the head tonight. We need to go into our pockets, and we need to start with the super thanks, with the super chat, and start donating money, because they're going to close the doors of Friends of Firefighters. And once we get through the list of things that Friends of Firefighters have done and the way it's growing further than they have the funds for. So we need, as a community, to pitch in and start shelling some cash out. Right, Mike? Starting with you, Maury. Let's go. Get it out there.
Yeah, I'm going to write a check.
You know what? Good for you.
Right.
No pressure here. I don't want to have to do that in front of, I don't know how many people are watching.
The rabbis have to step up once in a while.
Oi, no doubt. So what we got to do
Such
first?
a deal.
It's such a deal. Mental health. For how much? What? Let's get our commercials out of the way quick, Guns.
Yes, sir. We're going to do the pledge real quick.
No, let's do the commercials first, then we'll do the pledge.
All right. Here we go. We're going to listen to New Jersey Fire.
Established in 1930 and under the current ownership since 1987, the New Jersey Fire Equipment Company handles a complete line of fire department equipment and supplies. Headquartered in Greenbrook, the company operates full 3M Scott service facilities in Ridgefield Park and Toms River, staffed by 10 fully authorized Scott certified technicians with a fleet of 6 fully equipped service vans. All New Jersey Fire technicians and sales representatives are active or retired firefighters, officers or chief officers, career and volunteer. They understand the business and the importance of their work. New Jersey Fire has represented Scott since Earl Scott entered the SCBA business at the end of World War II. Among other leading manufacturers represented by New Jersey Fire are Globe and Firedex Turnout Gear, Mercedes Hose, Task Force Tips and Akron Brass, Hygenol, Firehooks, Arctic Compressors, MSA Carnes Helmets, ChemGuard Foam, Alkalite and Duo Safety Ladders, BA Face Shield Protectors, Truckman's Choice Saws, Grove's Gear Racks and Washer Dryers, Supervac Fans, RPI, Streamlight, and many others. A New Jersey incorporated and based company, sales and service are limited to the state of New Jersey. Find us now at www.njfe.com. That's www.njfe.com.
Yes, and we promise we're changing up that commercial soon, right?
Yes. We're just waiting on
Jimmy the
Jimmy to
Guinea.
get us in some new.
You saw Jimmy the Guinea down in Indianapolis. He looks great.
Yes.
Lost a lot of weight. I don't even recognize him.
Yeah,
But we're gonna get a new commercial, so you guys don't have to listen to the same commercial.
for sure.
All right, let's go into Little Vinny's. Another guinea. Little Vince.
Another little guy. Here we go.
Okay.
Need a new floor for your fire station? Choose an armor-tough interlocking flooring system to cover your aging, stained, cracked concrete or epoxy floor. Around for nearly 20 years and proven to be the best choice in renovating your station floors, covering nearly 600 floors across the country, ArmorTough is proudly made in America and comes with a lifetime warranty with floors that are usually installed in 1 or 2 days, depending on the size of your station, and no disruption in the process to your station's operations. Our system is guaranteed from chipping, cracking, peeling, breaking, or staining. The tiles are stain resistant and impervious to chemicals or volatiles that are used in the fire service. If you damage one tile, you can lift and replace without anyone knowing. And once it's installed, your floor would be easy to clean with just soap and water. It's not only for apparatus rooms. You can install an ArmorTough floor in virtually any room and choose from the hundreds of colors from the Designer Series or, if you like, from the Utility Series floor coverings. Are you in need of gear racks, an extractor, or gear dryers? Install an ArmorTough floor in your apparatus bay and take full advantage of a deep discount, saving you thousands of dollars on any of the Grove products line. Why install a breakable epoxy floor that'll need replacing in 5 to 10 years when you could have a floor that will last a lifetime? The ArmorTough flooring system is half the price of epoxy and will last a lifetime without issue, more importantly. Join the hundreds of career and volunteer departments nationwide who have chosen an ArmorTough interlocking tile floor. Call Vince today for a no-obligation quote at 908-917-7697.
Yes, and Vince brought a nice logo for our booth, right? Almost
Yes,
like
he
a little
did.
mini floor.
Set it up. He was in there hammering away, setting it up.
Sweating his ass off. So he's giving away, listen, the free logo of your company with every floor. So find and love the word free for free,
No.
free.
Nice
Free.
looking floor.
This
It's
is
for
fine.
me,
It's
you know.
favorite word, free. It's for me. Our last commercial quick. And this entire broadcast is sponsored by this next sponsor.
Here we go.
Oh,
The First Responders Center for Excellence is a not-for-profit organization dedicated to protecting the lives and livelihoods of first responders. Their education and research initiatives aim to bring greater awareness and understanding to the challenges to the health, safety, and well-being of firefighters, EMS personnel, and other first responders, too. They are an affiliate of the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation.
There we go. All right, we're going to dive in. Oh, before we do, I'm sorry again, the pledge.
Yes.
Not do anything.
And that's it. Then we're done. Here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we're going to get into what it was like back in the 50s being a fireman with Chief Dunn and mental health and how it was looked upon. But first, I want to start a little bit with Nancy. I want you to tell us exactly what Friends of Firefighters does, what they offer, a little bit of the history, as much as you could pass on to the audience.
Okay. The history started with 9/11, and Kev, remember I was in your house in the first couple of weeks, and really it was just a neighborhood resident that wanted to help out, like so many others. But I ended up becoming friends with the firefighters, and they came to trust me because they needed things. Initially, they needed boots and socks and bunting for the houses and buglers for the funerals, help with writing eulogies. And then by around Christmas time, we had a bond. I was with Hazmat 1 Squad 288, 205, 118, 31 and 82. And I have to mention the guys up the street, or else 202, 101. And I was at their houses helping them get the things that they needed. And John Sorrentino from 205 said, "We really need counseling, and we don't want to go to the job for it. Can you set something up?" I am not a counselor, so I thought, shit, I got to do this really carefully. It was Christmas time. Elizabeth O'Connell owns some property in the area. She gave us an old flower shop. Guys came from the site to build it into a counseling room and an office. And I started with Safe Horizon because they knew what they were doing. So February 2002, we started. We were officially Friends of Firefighters. We had tricklings of guys coming in. We had a lot of rigs throw guys off into our place and say, you're messed up, you need help. But really, it had where we are today, 24 years later, we're exploding. We had over 4,500 sessions this year. We now are seeing 140, I believe, firefighters, active, retired, their families. We're seeing a lot of children. We have a wait list of 60 people. 20 of them are children. I think 7 of them were just taken off and brought into counseling because of their need being a little more urgent. So what we're doing with the wait list is we're in the meantime having them see the peers if they're comfortable with that. Obviously, you have to do an intake and make sure that they're safe, first of all. And we also have a wives group. So we're trying to get people into some kind of service rather than just have them sit and wait because that's, if you call up for help, especially first responders, they and their families should get it right away.
Right. And you are totally funded by donations, right?
We're funded by donations. We do have a little bit of, we get discretionary funding from the city council.
Right.
Around $50,000 a year. We're actually operating at 1.3 million now. That's how many, we have a small staff inside, but we have a large and growing counseling staff. And that's predominantly what we spend our money on is the actual counseling. So that's direct service is what we spend most of our money on.
Yep. And I can attest to the fact that they were in the firehouse from Jump Street. I don't know how that happened, how you guys we could talk about that a little bit, but basically they were there to get us whatever we needed. Somebody to talk to, like you said, socks, whatever it is. And they were always around the firehouse. And I can tell you that it was like a grassroots thing. It just came up, right? I mean, you had some people working with you, but every time you're like, oh, it's Nancy. Oh, hi, Nancy. And what can I help you with? Right.
Yeah. And your house in particular, I was drawn to, I actually met somebody in the city and I was trying to get some materials for the house. And I came up against this gigantic guy and I thought, oh shit, he's going to get it for his house. And I have to fight for this because I know hazmat squad need it. And it turned out to be one of your guys. So it was kind of kismet. So I ended up going over to your house. You lost 19 members combined. And I believe it was 47 children were left without their fathers from that one house. So hazmat squad were important to me to make sure that you had the services. You had some things happen over the following year that I'd like to get into a little bit, because I think the one thing that's a very sensitive subject, and I don't want to dive into it right away, but here I go. Suicide. It's a really sensitive subject. Nobody wants to talk about it. It's a predominantly Catholic organization, the fire department. It has changed, of course, but it started out and the stigma attached to mental health, the fear of getting help, and of course the anger and feelings that follow suicide, a completed suicide, are something that we want to avoid. We want to take that off the table as an option. So we're doing everything we can to be here when that firefighter calls for help or their family member.
Right.
Really quick, Nancy, do you have a specific website that they can go to donate, or is it just your firefighters.org website, Friends of Firefighters?
It's friendsoffirefighters.org.
Okay, that's what I put in. Somebody was missing. I want to make sure I get them that information.
Okay, and thank you for that. We also have a few things coming up, but I'll get into it a little bit later. When you ask about how we've come through all of this, it's always been, I'm not a political person, although I know Vinny says, I need to be. I do need to be. And it's been hard to raise the money without a dog and pony show, but we won't do the dog and pony show. Right. So some firefighters find now, years later, that it's important to speak about it. It's important to speak publicly about it. It's important to share that they went through a tough time, and they come to us and say, we want to express what we went through and how it helped us. And that's how we get other guys to come in. It's really, you can do all the advertising in the world, but the firefighters in general, I have found, are very wary of anybody that's touting, I've got the cure. And we don't do that. But I think it's due to the firefighters talking to each other and saying how much it helps them, that brought our numbers through the roof. So our budget was not ready for this explosion. We had a 307% increase since just before COVID in the service requests. And it has exploded this place from 2 counselors to 11. And we need more.
I still have the message on my phone. I kept it, the voicemail that you said after our last show that somebody came in who was contemplating suicide, and we were able to get to him before he completed that. So I listen to that every now and again because that's what's really important about the show, other than passing on all the other stuff. But that one means something to me. So, I mean, because I had a failed attempt at one point in my life. So that really hits home for me, So let's move off a little bit to Chief Dunn there. So Chief Dunn, when you came in the fire department in 1957, what did the men think about, you were telling us about your first day. I don't think if you had gone down there and said that you need to talk to somebody, it would have been too accepted, right?
Well, let me tell you, when I went to 59 Engine, it was a secret that I was a probie that nobody wanted to talk about. But this guy, Biff, can't tell you his last name, Biff, he was a super fireman. And I found out eventually the story was, this is in the 50s, late 50s, that the guys are up at the middle of the night in a bunk room. They start to smell gas. So now they go downstairs, and this firefighter, Biff, has the oven open, and he's got his head in the oven. So he was trying to commit suicide. He's going to blow the firehouse up, too. So that was the first indication I ever heard of suicide.
Wow.
And then when I was in the 3rd Division, I believe there was a firefighter in 65 Engine who hung himself. I can't recall the guy's name, but they were the two events that I had about suicide until my nephew took his life. So I got, the reasons why that led up to his taking his life. If you want me to go into that, I'll do that.
Yeah, sure. Tell us a little about him and what built up to that.
Okay, well, I got it. I spoke to his.
I knew you would.
Yeah, his mother and father. His father was a firefighter in 45 Engine, and his mother was very close to her son. Yeah, that's Tom Dunn for 45 Engine, retired, and Nancy Dunn. So I've been on the phone with them, finding out. I mean, I know a lot about this kid. I helped him get on the job. I see this kid comes into the firehouse. Now I'm going way back. I'm in the 3rd Division. At 11 o'clock at night, Chief, you got a visitor down here. Kid's head is shaved. He's got these goofy sneakers on, half pants, long, short pants. Runs up to say, "Hi, Unc. I'm your nephew. Tell me, Dunn, I haven't seen the kid in years." He came from the West Coast. He took the cops test out there, failed for an eye exam. So he says, I guess I can't pass the fireman's exam. So I said, well, maybe we'll get the EMS. I get the paper, we get the EMS. They're looking for, workers back in the 1999s. So he's okay, we'll start out with the EMS. He leaves the firehouse around midnight. I get a call from Eddie Butler, guy with the tattoos on his hands. He's a chief now, big headquarters chief. He says, Vin, anybody who wants to get on, any kids who want to get on the fire department? We're starting a cadet program. We got chief's sons and, poor kids, and we're going to have cadets that are going to eventually get in a fire. I said, the kid just left. So he's got to have a driver's license, an American citizen, and he got to be in headquarters tomorrow morning. It ends tomorrow. If he's not there tomorrow morning at headquarters, he's got no shot at it. I call the kid up at home. He shows up that morning, headquarters, with the driver's license, American citizenship, and he gets on the cadet program. Now he gets on the cadet program, and first day he's up in 148th Street on 8th Avenue with ambulance, and then he passes the fireman's test. And some reason is Tommy knew the union delegate, the Bronx delegate. I knew a couple of people, so we let him take the exam with his eye, with his contact lens in. So he passed with flying colors, and he came in the fire department. So I feel very close to this kid. I said, there's got to be something. He's going to go up the ranks. So, and we had a little rapport going there. So anyway, Tom Dunn, Engine 40, Engine 240, and Engine 234. He did those two companies. He committed suicide. shocking. His family can't talk about it. His mother and father cannot speak. They're talking to me. So I'm here to tell you what I got from them, how this suicide was brought about. Okay, so he joins the fire department in 2000. He's assigned to Engine 240, Brooklyn Engine Company. 2001, he responds to the World Trade Center. Now, they're alive because on the response in, the officer is told to stop on the Brooklyn side. You got to have a third alarm staging there. They're seeing the fire is burning in the tower. They're yelling at the officer, "What are we doing here? Why are we stopping?" He said, "We got orders until we get a third alarm." So now they go through as a third alarm assignment. They're still going in. A cop stops the engine company. Hey, slow down. There's bodies in the street. They're jumping out the window. So now they get the hose mask. They go report to the command post. Chief says, "No hose. Bring your hose back. It's going to be a search and rescue operation." So they do that. They come back there, signed to the 50th floor. The building stopped to come down. Had those three delayed, not happened, they would have been dead. Okay, so he survived the two towers. The first one comes down. He's running. The company disperses. He winds up into a doorway of a garage. He's gulped that roar, then the silence, and he takes a whiff of the mask. He's filled with dust. He's choking now. Takes him a while to unchoke. And then he's looking for his company. Then all of a sudden, the second tower comes down. He survived the two towers. Now the kid doesn't, he's doing what he has to do. He goes over, they're told to go over there, stretch a line. There's no water in the hydrants. So they're stretching a line from a fireboat. He stays there till 5 o'clock at night working, trying to do rescue, searching wherever they can do, stretching hose line, putting out car fires. He survives the boat collapses and works there till 5 o'clock. Two cops drive him home to Brooklyn, where he lives in there. So he paid his dues. Now, two of his buddies, this guy Coyle and then this guy Joe Henry, from Proby School, they're missing. So now he starts going down there every night and down in. Now I go to dinner with him. He says, "Uncle," he says, "I know where to find the bodies." He says, "I can find them. I just go. I know." So he says, and he's getting angry. He says, "The other guys are not coming down." I said, "Tommy, you're not the captain. You can't order the guys down." But he's going down there night after night. They're looking for them. Now he's down there. Not a lot of us have been down there, but not doing what he was doing. And other guys in his crew, searching those voids, finding body parts. I mean, that was the really ugly part of that. So he spent months as what they call now R&RW, rescue and recovery worker. He's a recovery worker at that most of the time. He's searching, digging, and searching these voids. And he says, "Uncle, I know I can find the body." So that was what him and his crew were doing down there for months. They were going down there months. So anyway, 8 months later, he goes back. He wants to transfer to a busier company. He goes from 240 to 234. So now he's in 234, looking for more fire duty. 2010, he's on the job. 9 years later, he develops asthma, breathing problem, smoke, shuts his lungs down. So now he's got asthma, and he's forced to retire. So he loses the job he loves. He loses the firefighter friends that he loves, that he knows, that are his whole life. So he's forced to retire. And with the asthma, he goes on the medication. And then his brother, Jimmy, is in ladder 114. He dies suddenly. They got a sudden death. He died. His closest confidant. Now he's a little more isolated. Then he's taking medication for his asthma. It lowers his immune system, and now he develops shingles on his head. Scabs start to grow on his head, and they pain his head. He's got to shave his head, pick up the scab. The only thing that helps him, he's got to shave his head. The hair and the shingles create great pain in his head. So now he's got the asthma breathing, the shingles on his head. So now he starts to get this PTSD. What is this PTSD for 911 recovery workers? It's reliving the sights, sounds, and smells. The sights of those towers burning keeps going over and over in his head. The sound of the roaring crash, and then the silence after the collapses, and then the smells of the decaying body. So he's reliving this with his PTSD over and over. And he's telling his closest friends, the sights, sounds, and smells keep recurring to him. Okay, now, finally his marriage breaks up. He's married 10 years. She getting PTSD. He's giving her PTSD. She's a young, beautiful woman. She's got to survive. She has to leave him. They're friends, but she says, Tommy, I can't. You're spreading this to me. So she leaves him. Now, no more firefighter friends, no more brother, no more wife. Now he's more and more isolated. He moves to Florida. His parents are down in Florida. 45 engine fireman, Tommy Dunn, his father. So he goes down there. Now, you leave New York City and you leave Nancy Carbone's friends are firefighters. There's nothing out there. There's no help outside of New York City. He says, I got to go to the hospital. When the sights, sounds, and smells are getting to him, he goes to the hospital. Okay, you want the AA ward or you want the mental health? That's it. There's no PTSD. What are you talking about, 911? The mental health ward or you get the AA counseling? That's it. You don't need that. He's not an alcoholic. So no help, no understanding for 911. Counseling or stay at the mental ward. No one talks about 911 now, 10 years, 15 years later. He wants to talk. His mother says, all he wants to do is talk to a fireman. There's nobody talk. You know what they tell him to do? Here's a hotline. It's virtual. It's AI. It's a computer. You speak into the computer and tell them your problems. It's Q&A virtual hotline. So now, how is that? So there's nobody to talk to. A virtual. So now depression sets in. He got the PTSD, and now he's depressed. He goes into this real big depression. And the only way his father can pull him out of the depression of the reliving 911, he says, Tom Jr., let's reenact crawling down a hallway with a hose line. So him and his father, they crawled down a hose line, asked for more water, more line, and that pulls the kid out of the depression. The mother, I said, Nancy, what do you do? He'd have his mother sit there while he paced back and forth, talking about the Christian and Muslim religious wars and how he wanted not to have another 911. He kept talking. She'd sit there for hours listening to him. That would pull him out of the depression. So the family was the last defense for this kid who was going down the tubes. So depression. So now the final blow, they take him to a hospital. You know, he's really out of it. So they take him to a hospital. Mother, father drive him. The nurse, I guess the mother and father were kind of outspoken. The nurse says to him, hey, you're an adult. What are you doing here with your mother and father? Oh, Jesus. Now he shuts his mother and father off. And now he's in total isolation, total depression, reliving the sights of the burning towers, the sounds of the roaring crashing, and the smells of those decaying bodies. So he, on a nice sunny day, takes a 38 caliber gun. He goes into a park and puts a bullet in his head. And that's how he committed suicide. There is nothing outside of New York City. Nobody knows. You know, we have the saying, never forget. They forgot. They don't know about it. They don't even know about it. So never forget is something we say in New York City, but it's not out there. There's nothing out there. if you don't have Nancy Carbone's Friends of Firefighters counseling.
Yep.
That's all.
So you know what, guys, get in your pockets and hit the super chat, please. This is a
Now,
worthy
the
cause.
other thing is, so I said, no, what's going on here? What is happening to World Trade Center survivors? There is a study. It's called the International Journal of Environmental Research, Public Health, and it's data from the World Trade Center Health Registration Vital Records. So our vital records that we put down every time you go over there, the World Trade Center Health Registration. Here's what they have come up with. They say suicide is higher than expected. The higher than expected suicide mortality is in the rescue and recovery workers. So more than in general population, there's a higher suicide mortality among rescue and recovery workers, they call us, in the fire service. And now in this study, based on the World Trade Center health records, 35 enrollees committed suicide. From 2004 to 2018, they kept records, and the trend is up. They've got it on the study in Google. I just Googled it. Okay, so there's 3 ways they commit suicide. Hanging, number 1, firearms is number 2, and jumping from buildings is jumping from heights is number 3. The conclusion is that they say in this study, rescue and recovery workers from 911 are particularly high risk for suicide. Those workers who did long periods are more likely to die from suicide. And that's what this kid did. He was down there for the 8 months, and he was complaining. Other guys weren't going down there, but it turned out to be a bad thing. You got to have some kind of a break, I guess. So those who work for a long period, mental health screening treatment must continue to be prioritized for 911 exposed population. That's what Nancy does. And then this is right in the study. I didn't get this out. And long-term trends are unknown. But I looked at the chart from 2004 to 2018, and it's up. The trend is up. Now they don't know what's going to happen after 2018. Nancy may be the bellwether. She sees her clients budgeting. So anyway, that's it. You want to go International Journal of Environmental Research, Public Health, data from the World Trade Center Health Registration Vital Records. I Googled it, came right up. So that's what we know about suicide in the 911.
Ronzoni, are you still a peer?
I'm still a peer. I'm not active out visiting firehouses.
Right.
We do get a major situation, whether a loss of a brother, a serious injury or death, or multiple losses at a fire. I get texted via a group text, and I respond to situations like that.
Do you see your numbers going up too? You talk to the guys, right?
You know what? When I was more active doing the peer counseling work for the fire department, I retired in 2004, and I got the job a couple of years later. So in the mid-2000s, we started a suicide awareness campaign that went through the job because CSU was getting an uptick in calls with the ideation of suicide, So they put together this program, and within a 6 or 8 month period, we covered every firehouse in all 5 boroughs, every group. We got it done. We had handouts. We had posters in the firehouse kitchens. Suicide, we all know it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And Chief, one of those stats that you quoted from 2004 to 18, I dealt with one of the fellas who ended up taking his own life, and it was a very difficult time to get through, trying to help this fella get the help that he needed. And the unfortunate thing with suicide is that we can't save everybody, and if someone has that mindset, there's really very little we can do. And And through that suicide awareness program, they taught us what to tell the firefighters and the companies, what to look for, all different types of things like that. A guy that's always on time now is late. Clean shaven and neat, disheveled, or vice versa. Off-color comments, starting to give away prized possession. There's a million things, suicide, although they try to hide it, all the stuff that they do that leads up to that terrible event, if it does happen, those are all signals for us. And now that we're recognizing this suicide situation, a lot more people have a lot more, of a baseline, especially with us visiting all the firehouses, just what to do. It's
a
challenging.
lot of people don't want to say. There are a lot of suicides where the family covers it up.
Yep.
We don't really have good numbers, so that's the other factor. A lot of families who know I don't want to talk about it. Thankfully, Tommy and Nancy Dunn, his father and mother, they offered to give me that personal information about him. So but that's not the case, and I don't think we really have accurate numbers.
When you took over, right, the counseling unit was basically one guy, right? Some big Irish guy. I don't remember what his name was.
Maliki
Corrigan, right, or something like that.
Yeah.
It was only one guy.
Corrigan.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you came in there was such a void for somebody who, to get people help. And then thank God you came in when you guys came in, because then I think the job followed your lead, actually. And they started when did the counseling unit really explode, Ronzoni?
After 9/11, of course,
right.
is when we saw a tremendous uptick in the amount of personnel coming in and family members as well. We were taking care of family members back then as well.
Yeah.
So we're over 10,000 people, I believe. The number was somewhere around there that we saw for those things.
Right.
I just wanted to touch on one thing what the chief had said. When we started getting those upticks of ideations of suicide, we came up, or the powers that be came up with 2 suicides a year was what we were averaging, strictly on the fact that that's something we can put our finger on and say that was a suicide. There were other losses that were a gray area that they couldn't. So the number was probably closer to 4 a year, which is 1 a year is too much, let alone 4.
We got it. They said 1 to 4, 1 to 4 every year. So,
Wow.
So that's your ballpark. 4.
When we did that study in the middle 2000s, chief, it was 2 a year, and then is how it started. And now here we are in 2025. I'm sure that number is up.
Could be 4.
As well.
He said could be 4.
Yeah.
Wow. And you know what it is? I want to say too, I know we're really focusing on suicide, but going to talk to somebody, you don't have to be at the point of suicide to go talk to somebody. This could be disrupting your relationship with your wife, your kids, and or they may need help. Like you're taking on kids right now, Nancy. You didn't do that before.
Well, we have a children's program now, and the reason why is that we are seeing children present with anxiety that is more concerning, actually, anxiety that's more than the first responder, him or herself. So they have anxiety on a level that really is shocking. And COVID, I think, has a lot to do with it. They're during very important developmental years, they're looking at a flat screen. They're not making eye contact with the people now that they're in the classroom. They're not playing in a way that is they're maybe a little too violent or extreme anxiety in children. In fact, and I'm not going to keep going back to this and banging the drum. Maybe I will. We've got children from age 7 to 12 and then 17 that present with suicidal ideation, which is shocking. 7-year-old. We have had to hospitalize people for this, and thank God they're all okay. Actually, two gentlemen volunteer with us now to try to help other people go through, whatever it is that they're going through. And you're right, it isn't always about suicide, but some people just feel that they're at the end of their rope. And COVID really was the test for some families. The families of first responders I cannot tell you how the impact was tenfold for families of first responders here in New York. Anyway, they didn't see their parent, the parent that was a first responder, for weeks at a time. And then when they did, so a lot of first responders would stay in the basement away from the family and wave through the glass, or just stay at the firehouse with fear that they would bring it home. And unfortunately, some did, and with dire results. So I think the one thing that we are seeing more shockingly in the kids is a level of anxiety that it really has surpassed the first responder him or herself.
Yep, I could. It's so funny that you say that, Nancy, because my son, I had talked to you about this. My son, who's only 14, but at the time he was 12, 11, talking about suicide. I thought it was so unheard of, but and it's from, I believe, like you say this now, from COVID and anxiety and watching it. And now I just had him at the doctor the other day, and the doctor said, "Do you notice that he doesn't look anybody in the eye?" I was like, "You know what? I never really noticed that." And now I started to take notice of it, and he doesn't look people in the eye. It's something, and he has anxiety, and I'm like, yeah, so we got him talking to somebody for a while now, but these things that you say, a light bulb goes off. I'm like, holy shit, man. Yeah.
I think a lot of parents are seeing that. And I think that, first responders, Vinny, back in your day, you didn't bring it home at all, you thought, right? But people would come home, children pick up everything, and they often think it's their fault. So if daddy's coming home from the firehouse or mommy's coming home from the firehouse and she's had a bad job, it's really hard to pretend and put a face on. You may not share the details, but kids use their imagination and it can morph into something different, and they either draw back or they act out, but they definitely do respond to the repercussions of whatever the parent went through, especially if it was a bad job. They
right.
do that.
And they don't have the mechanisms or the skills to navigate through that. So it's
they need to be taught the skills to navigate.
That's what I'm saying. They don't have that at that age.
Right. And they shouldn't, I don't believe, hear about the bad jobs. But I do think that the conversation is important to have. And that is what we do. We give them tools to handle stress, to handle challenges that unfortunately we have to give these young kids. I'm pretty old. Vin, I'm not as old as Vin, but Vin will attest to this.
Nobody's as old as me.
But we didn't have these stressors. We had things, bullshit happens in every family, or, you fall, you get hurt, whatever. But I certainly can say I had different kinds of stressors, but I didn't carry the weight of a pandemic. I didn't have the weight of a parent who was a first responder and not being able to tap into, why is my parent not responding? Why do they just sit on the couch? Why are they looking off to nowhere? I'm right here. And this is not to put blame on the parent either, but I think a lot of families have benefited from getting the tools to work through what it really is an unnatural challenge to, most people don't see what you guys see. And what do you do?
Not realizing how it affected my family, what I was going through for so many years. Until I retired, I started putting up videos and going through old tapes and stuff like that and being present. I was never did I realize I wasn't present for my family with all the stuff that I went through. So we find some old videotapes, and it's my son's. We actually, before cell phones, we actually got his first steps on camera. And we're watching it. We're like, oh, I can't believe it. We got his first steps on camera, and he's walking. And this is such a milestone in a child's life and a parent's life, that you see a child take their first steps. And my wife says to me, she leans over in the video, and she goes, "You see, you don't have such a bad life." And
wow.
In that video, I couldn't believe, and it just blew up a bulb how
that's amazing.
So many years I've affected them, what I've kept inside and not talked about, and how I reacted or how I did things. How she turned to me on such a milestone and said, "See, you don't have such a bad life." And so I look back and I'm like, oh, I cannot believe that.
So she really picked it up.
She picked it up.
Yeah, you thought you were hiding it. You thought you were hiding it, Kenny, but you weren't in reality.
Yeah.
And I want to back up for a second. What Nancy had said about how Friends of Firefighters see 7-year-olds to 12-year-olds. In the New York City Fire Department, we do not see minor children. They will do an intake on them and then get them to a clinician or a counselor that takes our coverage.
Yeah.
And well, a 7 or 8 year old kid that they would never see him in the New York City Fire Department.
Right.
You know, when
it's
I
even
was
hard to get it through your insurance. I couldn't find somebody to see him. So we got a resource right here, guys. Get into your pockets right now and do something. $5, $10, whatever it is on the super chat, dude. This is priceless.
That might be a south a northeastern thing, because here in South Florida we have what they call a BHAP program, Behavioral Health Access Program now, opening the door probably on the heels of Friends of Firefighters and stuff like that. But the thing about it is yes, that's gotcha, Mike. The thing about it is they don't charge now for mental health. I've gone for a while now, and they don't charge me a penny. You can bring your family in. They don't charge any money for mental health sessions.
Yeah.
So they've
And
got,
that has been a barrier. That's been a barrier for people. And it's also finding a counselor that understands the culture. That's a very tough thing for a firefighter as well. I want to be really clear in saying that when firefighters bring it home, that's the last thing they think they're doing. They have every intention of protecting their family from the things that they saw and heard. So it's really important to say that, because otherwise it sounds like, oh, you bring it home and you throw it at your family. No, you don't. You hold it in, but it gets out somewhere. Well, that's what they pick up on. But, we did start a pilot program. In fact, we just completed it in Biloxi, Mississippi. Completely different makeup of a fire department. They'd have 2 or 3 firefighters on in a station at a time. It's a lot of there's a big difference between the departments, but a desperate need for counseling. And they also were struggling with suicide. And so what we did is, when we ended the program over a period of time with the help of the IAFF, we trained peers, and they're in place. And they actually, I think, the last count, there were over 50 of them when we left. And what they did was they got the neighboring towns. I'll call them towns because they're not a city like we're a huge city, but Biloxi is a city, and the surrounding areas. They have widened their reach because they know that they may not want to go to somebody they know from their town. So they've done a very good job of it. I would really love to see this where this is accessible. When you have first responders that are willing to put themselves through fire and accidents and all sorts of disasters to save us, I really believe it's our obligation to make sure that the help is there for them after the disaster is over.
Right. Go ahead, Mike. You don't have to raise your hand.
Yeah. He was doing the super chat. He's on money.
I just want to say something about what's going on, not in just Biloxi or any department. I think part of the problem, and I think we're remiss on mental health not to realize that the first thing I think we should do, first of all, is you got to have the support in the department. You have to get your family involved, your clergy, your kids. But I think after every event that happens in a fire department, I know it's very hard if you're very busy, but they should have counselors come to the firehouse. As soon as there's a bad accident, whether it's an extrication or it's an EMS personnel that's dealing with a dead baby, trying to get mouth to mouth, you got to catch it in the bud. If I'm wrong, maybe it's just from my personal experience. But I feel that if there's an avenue, as soon as they get back to the firehouse, that gives them a place to go up to the shoulder and take a breather, maybe let some steam off with a professional, I think that's the first step in providing the mental health services that departments need. Because if you wait for them to go home, like if they're a volunteer fire department, you may not see Joe and Terry for like months. Mm-hmm. And you have no idea what's going on with their family or their personal needs or whatever you want to call it, whatever darkness they're in. And you may not see them for 6 months. So if you can somehow get someone there right away, after the call, show up, say, I'm available, this is what I can do for you. There's no concerns about finger pointed that you're too humble or you're not strong enough as a human being to handle it. We're here for you. And I think that's the first part on getting a mental health program in a department, no matter what the size may be.
Yeah. And Mike, you're right. But I will say CSU peers do a phenomenal job.
But you know what, Nancy? Like you said earlier, you alluded to it. We're a big department.
Right.
We put money together. I was just doing something with John Tippett at the Rock with the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation with the Father's Day fire. And we broke up and I got to talk. I didn't even talk about
Hey, thanks for inviting me. I was there, in case you didn't know. Thanks for inviting me.
But you know what? They broke up, and in a way, the chief wanted to talk about me being blown out of a building.
Uh-huh.
That wasn't what I was going to talk about, and I did. I talked about, hey, this is what happens after a line of duty. Okay, this is how you can try to deal with it. Because of Father's Day and 9/11, the city upped their game so that it wasn't a mental health was no longer a curse, like you were less than human. Now, when you break your leg or you get respiratory illness, fire department, mental health is right up there. If you got a problem and you can't perform, well, maybe it's time to cut the service, meaning leave the job, because mental health is the highest problem in the fire service. 18 per 100,000 firefighters commit suicide, something like that. And they're all probably, well, not all, to Ron's point, they're not all preventable, but there are ways to deal with it. And I got to tell you something. When Michael Judge came into Elmhurst Hospital after Tom Williams died, and I followed him out the window. Listen, I'm a Jew, but I'll tell you, it was nice that Michael Judge was comforting. Now, listen, I don't know what Latin means from Hebrew, but I do know the way he presented himself to me and a bunch of guys that were in another room next to where Tom's body now was, off the emergency room. It was a big deal, you know, and it's those little small things that departments do that may not let you go off the rails. You need a good start. And I think, go ahead, Nancy.
If I may, I think you said it. You said maybe it's time to leave the job. I think that's a firefighter's biggest fear, is that if they do get help, they're going to be told to leave the job. And in leaving the job, they're cutting, their heart out, because oftentimes their safest place, believe it or not, is on the fire floor. Their home is with the brothers and sisters on the fire floor, and they feel safe there because they've got their family with them there. And I hear what you're saying, but I do know that some firefighters that left the job and were ordered, that some of them have come straight to us, and before they've opened their mouths, they've just been told they're done.
Well, I'll tell you, in my case, and I'll agree with Chief Dunn, I stay in New York for a lot of reasons. My sons still live on Long Island. My friends are still here. But some of my mental support of retired firefighters are on.
Yes. That's it.
And man, it is a big deal. Whether I
Talk
go out
to
for
a
a drink
firefighter.
or I go out to socialize, having someone I can talk to, especially that someone knows me from my job and my black cloud over my head, it's a big deal. It's a big boost for me to go forward and not look so dark all the time. Not that
If you retire and you leave the city, you lose that.
Oh, absolutely, Chief. You leave the city of New York, to your point, Nancy, you're right. And thank God for getting salted, I'll be honest with you, because it gave me a new life.
Mike, stop. Go ahead. No.
It gave me a new life, and it brought me into a where I'm very vocal about mental health. It gave me a purpose again. And unfortunately, there's a lot of guys out there that don't have that luxury like I did, and Kevin and everybody else on this show. Where they had that support. It's not there. I did a little quick video at the site of the Astoria fire for some guy from Idaho. And he asked me to do it, and I did it, just off the top of my mouth. If you can spend $2 million on a tower ladder, you can't spend $200,000 on mental health. You got to be kidding me. That's a problem. And that's the priority difference. It's uniforms, personal protective equipment, apparatus, a new bathroom, and the mental health is at the bottom of the pile, and it should be as equal to apparatus, your salary, and everything else you do in the fire service.
Amen.
It's changing. And I have to say, I think that the job is doing, CSU, I think, is doing an excellent job. Yeah. They do have limitations that we don't, because their city job, we will do evenings and weekends. They can't do that. We see children, they can't. We see family members and retirees. But I have to say, they were shot out of a cannon on 9/11, and they really pulled it together quickly. And I would never want the job that Malachi had of hiring 100 unknowns. to go to the firehouses and hope to God that they didn't turn out. And, I've been in the kitchen when somebody comes in and it's like a 24-year-old young lady and she's got a clipboard.
Right.
Good start. And cocks her head and says, "So how do you feel?" And they have just come back from the site. So, in over her head, but at the same time, everybody wanted to help to the best of their ability. And she was escorted nicely to the door. But I've seen people thrown out, like just thrown out. And I was lucky to grow up in a big family and with big mouths. And I was in a band and I work on cars. So I'm comfortable in a kitchen. But the first thing I learned is to shut my effing mouth. Just listen. And they talk.
You know what's great about what you guys do and what CSU do is I'll give you a little, because I still go to therapy now. You guys speak our language. Like what I went to, who else did we lose? Mike? And Kenny?
I got Mike. No, what did I?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's Kenny. There you go.
Oh, there's Kenny. So I go to my therapist and I start explaining stuff to her and I can see like her eyebrow go up and she's like, "So that's a good thing." So they don't really get it. I was like, "Yeah, I miss going to the firehouse and guys telling me I got a crooked nose and what it is." And I'm like, she's like, "Explain to me how this is good again. I don't really know." But you guys know. You don't even have to set the whole thing up about fireman culture because you speak our language.
Well, we do. I made fun of you the first time I met you, so we hit it off.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I still do.
That kind of stuff is so helpful, though. That they having. I mentioned this when we talked about this a little bit before, not to totally railroad the conversation, but having that energy, if you will, that dialogue takes some of the that anxiety out of the conversation. If I'm explaining it the right way, so you come in, as you mentioned before, somebody with a clipboard. That's an instant like, okay, this is a totally different dynamic that's going to happen. So.
Right. Unless she's hot, and then guys might listen for about 5 seconds.
Wait a second.
And then they'll escort her to the door.
Listen,
Coffee, a cake, hang on.
I want a coffee. Can I get you coffee?
Listen, but they're not gonna open up.
Yeah, they're not gonna open up.
Nah.
Whoever thought about our current situation with retirees walking in firehouses, it's ingenious.
Yeah, it is.
I walk like a duck, I talk like a duck, I quack like a duck. I know the nomenclature, I know everything about that kitchen. It's just a perfect fit, and you walk in, it's instant credibility. You taught me in Proby school, we got on the job together, we got promoted together. It's amazing.
I remember Eddie Sullivan walked in. I'm like, "Oh shit, Eddie! I worked with him in 16.
I worked with Eddie plenty. Yeah, absolutely.
And you know what? That's even a higher kudos to Nancy because she came in as an outsider. Yeah, she was hot, but she also could talk our language, bro. And that's a kudos to you that you were able to get into like a brotherhood,
world
group, right? And you fit right in,
I have to say also what I tell the counselors. I don't want anybody getting caught up on the challenges of what's PC and what's not. You're going to get, especially a guy, will come in and throw shit at you to offend you to see if you can take it before they're going to trust you.
Yep.
If you're going to jump on it, I saw a counselor come in and tell a guy in a kitchen, this is 2001, so put it in perspective, told him to put out his cigarette in his own firehouse kitchen. Now, there's no smoking in the houses, I think now, but at the time there was. Yeah. And he had just come off the pile. And she's telling him to put out the cigarette. So those were early lessons for me.
I guess you didn't read the room very well.
Yeah.
No. But again, I think my hat's off to anybody that went into a kitchen because that's a tough room. It really is a tough.
Well, I mean, when we came in the pre-show and I had a tank top on, and she goes, "What the fuck are you wearing?"
It looks stupid. Like a bra.
Wait a minute. I think I have something for that. Wait a minute. Wait, here it is.
Yeah, pick it up. Oh.
He slapped the shit out of you.
That's what that was? I thought it was a whip.
It's a little.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, the smack. I could have
smack, and then if the female screams, like you just,
That's Kevin. That was
all right, but that's it. This is how we deal with this.
I'm good on that.
I think one of the great things that when you started Friends of Firefighters is that somebody came to you and said, "I need help," and you realized. So it must have been really difficult for that guy or those guys to step up and say, "I need help," because
Yeah.
The generation that I'm from and the generation before me, for the most part, it was you didn't talk about it. You just kept it inside.
Yeah.
You know, you felt mental health was a weakness. You didn't want to look weak because you thought you had problems. So somebody coming
actually,
to you,
to be honest, Nancy looked at me and she already knew. I didn't have to say nothing. She's like, "This is
I
something wrong
called
with
you
this
out the minute I met you.
She's like, this guy's nuts, bro." Yeah.
Yeah, and you needed a place to put that energy, as I recall.
I'll give you a quick
like a
story.
snowball effect. Like one guy steps up and they see everybody else doing it, and they're like, you know what?
That's
Boom,
exactly
there you go.
it.
So I'll tell you, I'll give you something that puts that into perspective. So my father was, like I said, 28 truck, 17 engine. He started working at 13 to support his family because his father was a drunk. So he's old school. So he's going in for a quadruple bypass, right? So we're all saying goodbye to him with 7 kids, you know, wish him luck. I come up to him and I said, "Hey, Dad, I love you." He turns to my mother and goes, "What's wrong with this guy? Is he gay or something?" So that's old. That's the mentality
That's old
you
school.
had to deal with right there.
Yeah.
Right?
But that means I love you too.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Somebody asked me, when did hugging start? Hugging started in the 60s. Before 1960, you didn't hug. The guys hug now, but before 1960, nobody hugged. I know that.
I don't even think you fist bump back then. You give up. "What's up, Vin?"
What's up? Don't get too close, but you know, hey.
Yeah.
No, I have to say, Tony Catapano, who was my mentor, was on the job for over 42 years, and he hugged everybody. And my dad met him, and he gave my dad a hug and a kiss. And my dad said, "He seems like a nice guy. What's with the touching?" Is it Pop?
He's a guinea. What do you think? The touching?
That's one thing, but also he lost over 100 friends. He's going to hug every single person he meets for the rest of his life, and he did. But I just want to give you, like, boring statistics. Impressive. Center in SUNY New Paltz, they did a study this year, and they found that 80% of first responders report stigma as a social barrier to the first responder community, and it's followed by a concern that peers will think that they're unreliable.
Did you say 80%?
80%.
Wow, that's high.
And 78% think that their peers will find that they're unreliable on the job if they show any weakness, saying that they need help. Many also fear administrative repercussions if the leadership finds out that they're struggling. So to your point, where did he go? Mike's not here anymore.
Yeah, he's
popping in and out. I don't know what the hell he's doing.
You know,
I think Mike needs some counseling. He's having a tough time.
He's way
Mike
past
is in trouble.
counseling,
This
that guy.
man.
But another number that I think is important and a little bit shocking is the 3/4 or more of first responders report negative impact on their home life, which is 80%, physical health 79%, and their social life 75%. But 94% of first responders report that stress is a challenge for the entire community, and it's followed by burnout 90% and anxiety 87%. This is a new study that came out, and it's shocking. You know, thoughts of suicide were reported, right? So you know it's higher. 16% of first responders, and the CDC reports 4% rate amongst civilians, the general population. So these are numbers that really should jolt you awake. So
hell yeah, I didn't think they were that high.
It's
Can I ask you a question, Nancy?
Why am I so good looking?
Thank you.
Wait
No.
What I want to know is, this is a question. When a firefighter or an EMS personnel commits to suicide, do they do like a forensic report on it, meaning they interview the firefighters involved, the family, the bosses? Do they actually do anything to find out the root cause?
I would defer to Ron on this. I don't think so.
I don't have that answer as well, because I've never gone past that point, you know, to the end of the result and the findings. I'm on the front end of that is how I dealt with it. So I would imagine, Mike, because it's the circumstances of the death that has to be, you know, it has to be investigated. I would imagine.
But you know what?
You know,
the problem is, though, once again, it gets back to big career departments, middle city career departments, and I hate to dwell on the volunteers, but they're the whale shit of the fire service. They don't get the funding. They don't have a lot of calls. As I said earlier, you don't talk to them, you don't see them. And, you know, we're all retired city people, and we're all on the same plane, basically. except for Gonzo. I apologize.
Appreciate that. I'm still working.
And so we
Still
see
doing my
it from
duties.
our own fishbowl. Whereas when you're a volunteer in Pennsylvania or New York State up in the Adirondacks, where you're giving a boot at a 7-Eleven to get money to buy your next pair of personal equipment stuff, there is that disconnect where they get nothing out of it when they need the help the most. And I hope tonight, I know we got 80,000 people that follow us, but I'm hoping that the people that are the minority, who are the volunteers, which is the backbone of the fire service in America, put some pressure on your folks, whether it's on the state level, the county level. I mean, there's stuff out there. You could say, hey, Father Mike Milner or Rabbi Mike Milner, you can go to his office at the synagogue or the church, and he'd be more than happy to talk to you. I mean, that's a start. That's at the bottom level, where you get some ground root support, or a high school psychology teacher. Maybe if that's the only thing available in the town, let's maybe get access to that person to help these folks out.
So, Mike, you're talking about normalizing mental health. That's what you're talking about. And it's not normalized, especially in such a macho career. And that's what we're trying to do.
I
know.
know.
Do that, and we're trying to spread the word, but I'm trying to keep our doors open, because really it's exploded over here. And I thank my friends at CSU, because they have to stop sending us people, but I thank them because they recognize the good work that we do, and we respect each other. But I have to say, the stigma is less so now in New York City, in my experience. But wow, is it big in small towns? It really is. But I do want to say, we can't have this conversation without mentioning FDNY EMS. FDNY EMS did a hell of a job. They always do, every single day.
Right.
We've got at least 2 murders of EMS workers, which were horrific. And the fear, really, of going back out there and dealing with people that are they probably shouldn't be on the street, I'll put it that way. But they're violent, and they have to do that. And so my heart goes out to them. And I do know that I want to shout out to the EMS Help Fund, because they're doing a good job connecting their mental health resources to the EMS in New York City. But, overall, we are seeing a shift towards making the call. And I think Friends of Firefighters, it really did take 20 years to build the trust. You're a tough room, So there were houses that immediately, they caught on. And it really was in being at the funerals and wakes, going to the dinner dances, going to the Memorial Day, going to Medal Day, being present, but not overstepping. When there is a crisis, when there's a fatality, we don't run to firehouses. We stand back. We know that that CSU is on the scene, and they have our number. Now, if we're called, we're going there.
Right.
But otherwise, we step back.
The other thing, though, with the big city FDNY and CSU and your organization is, we go out of our way to get everybody involved on it. The family, whatever it may be, their aunts and uncles, their mothers and fathers. We all want them to be involved, because in order for me to survive, I needed on board my ex-wife now, my kids, and my family, because if I didn't have them to go back to after a session with a psychologist and have them involved with it as well, going to the same psychologist, I don't know where I would have ended up, to tell you the truth, because she would come with me. Even the kids would come with either one of all or both of us, and they were young at the time. That was a big plus for me, because I could go home that night and maybe be a raving lunatic, but my ex and my kids knew a little bit about me now.
Right.
Okay. It's like you said, I used to always tell my friends, the only time I had sanity in my life, when I did a 24 at work. No cell phones, no do this, no honey do this, don't do that. There was nothing but the focus on the job. Mm-hmm. So once you leave that, it is a problem. So in my case, I was lucky. I had support from a psychologist, psychiatric help, My family was involved. And I think it did a lot for me to be here today talking about it openly. And believe me, I could tell you plenty of stories. I had a mental breakdown once. I didn't go as far as Kevin, but I really let loose one night, and I just lost it in front of one of my closest friends from Rescue 4. And I thank God he and his wife took care of me that night because I needed that kind of help. So we're very lucky, and that's why I'm just so adamant that I keep talking about the volleys or small career departments that just don't have the funding. Hey, it's time to find the funding. Okay, you can't wait any longer.
Well, that's
And you know what? When someone dies of a suicide, man, it hurts. I have it in my family, and the problem is you never know the answer. Okay, no matter what age, who it is, and man, that in itself is a long-term suffering. Okay.
Mike, it's much. My grandfather killed himself, and it reverberates to this day to the great grandchildren. There's a shift in the family. There's a trauma in the family, and when he did that, it was not the time when it was discussed, and the next generation, not the time to discuss. I think I was a teenager before I found out because it was so shameful, and the church would not have him buried in the Catholic cemetery.
Right.
So, we went to find his grave, and the stone had sunken down. It was a mess. So there was shame attached to it. And I think I referred before to the Catholicism of the job, but that's certainly not an insult. What I was saying is that the job was largely Irish, German, Italian, Catholic, and the shame that's attached to suicide. If you speak to Father Chris today, and I'm sure Michael Judge said the same thing, the shame is that they don't have a place to go. The shame is not, that they felt so desperate that they couldn't hold on. It wasn't, how could they do that to us? It was really, my grandfather, I believe, thought that he felt the family would be better off without him. I really think he believed that. And no, it wasn't the case at all. But, desperate people do desperate things. People that are alone do desperate things. His wife was dying. She, in fact, died 10 days later. My mom was 20. She was the oldest of 5. And so she took the kids in. And that's what I grew up with. The shock mother, who never really got over it. And she died recently at 94. And I don't think she ever got over it. So it reverberates through generations. I really believe that. And I think that does kind of explain for me anyway why I do what I do.
Let me just add one more thing. Another good thing about FDNY is, as I said earlier, we get the families involved. So you know what? To this day, one of my sons comes to me when I go, maybe for 9/11 or another function, he'll come. They used to go to the Christmas parties. There's something about our culture that a lot of departments, big or small, just don't have. They exclude moms and dads and daughters and sons from the firehouse. It's the men's club, which it still is in many parts of the country. And that's the bad part of it. You want that culture of family. It is my second family, FDNY. Sure. Right? Sometimes it was the other way around. They were my primary family. And I think that's something else that hopefully tonight people can listen to and say, you know what? Maybe that's what I should be doing in my fire department. Getting mom and dad involved. Maybe they should know a little bit about what we do here. I'm not saying give away all the secrets of the men's club. I get it. But at the end of the day, when you have your family supporting you, not only at home, but with the fire service, when something goes south, it translates a little better. It's not so much of a shock that they have a problem.
Absolutely.
What were you going to say, Kenny?
So one of my buddies retired from FDNY, and he's on a small department now in Tennessee. And it's a very slow department, but he lives very close to the firehouse. And he had all the guys over for Easter. And they just didn't have the culture that we had. Like, he's bringing his family there. He's bringing the guys to his house. His wife made a big dinner. And they were like, this is the greatest thing ever. And he was like, this is how it is in the FDNY. Right. This is how we are. We're a family. So he's teaching that culture to them in this small department in Tennessee. Colin Halen, if you're listening. And it's just the greatest thing. Every department should be that way. And like you said, not every department is that way.
Right.
Yeah, but
Well,
you just started something. There are going to be leaders out there that say this resonates with me and I can start something here and hopefully carry it forward. Is there a possibility, Gans, that you can play that video clip, or did you want to do that at the end?
No, you
Oh, we
guys
can
tell
do
me
that.
when. We can
I
do
just
it
want to
whenever.
make one comment that, and it just dovetails off of what Nancy said, because,
Right.
we talk about mental health. It's a disease. It's no different than cancer. It's no different than my grandfather had mental health issues. He wasn't a firefighter. He wasn't a first responder. He was a bookie. He always had a lot of cash in his pocket. He was very generous with his grandkids, but he had severe depression, and he tried to kill himself in front of my mother. He stabbed himself actually in front of my mother. So people shouldn't think that it's a disease like any other disease. You can get it. It's nothing to be ashamed of.
No.
Yeah.
So
Before we go to the video,
let's go to the
this
videotape.
This is we've done 3 mental health podcasts already, right?
Yeah.
We did that show at Friends of Firefighters. Mike and I did another show with Mike Mattern and that other fella from Dearborn, Michigan. They started their own counseling service for their job in particular. I think we're on the right path. Maybe if we maybe have quarterly mental health shows fitted into the schedule where we keep on talking it and continue to bring it up and bring it to the forefront. We've been trying all along, a lot of the things that we were fearful of early on. Now we're promoting the counseling unit. We're promoting going there. It's another tool in the toolbox for us that we have to rely on, and it's a shame what you're going through now, Nancy, and I know that we're going to pull together and try to help the Friends of Firefighters because, you've done so much for the fire service, and I hope in turn that we can turn around and do something good for you as well, because this is something that needs to be constantly in the forefront,
You're the template, Nancy, for the small departments. There is a path to do it.
There is.
With a small budget.
And I am not a counselor. People think I'm a counselor. I'm a mom. And so for me, that it's for me, my uncle was on the job, my great uncle. He was killed out of 14 truck. I didn't know him. He died long before I was born. But I was raised with a reverence for firefighters and knowing my mother used to say they're a cut above all other men. At the time, it was just men on the job. And they are cut above all other men and women today. So for me, I was raised with a respect for the job. And it wasn't drummed into us. It's just, that this is what happened. And so I think that what my feeling is, and in fact, his name is Dunn, Vinny. I think you know that.
I know.
He must be related.
No relation.
No.
Maybe we are related. No.
I don't know. County Clare.
Brother through the fire department, Chief.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Just leave me in your will, Chief. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
It's something that I think I responded to in my heart, and I stay with it because the demand is there. I always thought in the very beginning, I thought it'd be a year or 2. And then I wouldn't have to look at Kevin anymore. But here we are, 24 years later, and I'm still looking at the book.
Groundhog Day with Kevin.
Right.
Just to repeat it again, we talk about small fire departments, big fire departments, FDNY, gigantic. Boston Fire is a big operation as well.
Yeah.
13 peer counselors spent 3 nights in Boston after the Boston Marathon bombing. And we covered every house, every shift, A, B, C, and D. And we gave them the information that, we learned along with our trials and tribulations of 9/11. So here's another major municipality who doesn't have what they have something in place, but it was in our best interest to get up there and help them because they came down to New York to help us during 9/11.
Yeah.
And that was a fantastic trip. We ended up going back a year later, and they gave a special ribbon to every Boston firefighter that responded that day, and they gave us 13 ribbons to bring home for us peers that were there, and I wear that proudly on my uniform.
A couple of points.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? Well, everyone on these screens here, we all have a personal story about mental health. And I think that should be driven into everyone that's watching tonight. If the people on this screen are here to talk, promote mental health awareness, it's survivable. I mean, it's up to you as the individual to point out to yourself in the mirror, this is Mike. I have a problem. I got to get it addressed. And the folks on these screens here have a personal story. We're here to tell you that you can survive. There's life after the firehouse. There's life after a line of duty injury. There's life in general, whether you get divorced, you lose a child, you can survive. And I tell you, I think for me, going on these type of shows gives me the impetus to want to talk about it more, be more open about my own issues, so that everyone out there knows that, you know what, if this guy, Mike Milner, can survive with a black cloud, and some of us have black clouds, some don't, it doesn't matter. But if you can survive like I have and be actually a pretty pleasant person, that's the goal I think a lot of us want to have. We're not going to make anybody whole again. I don't think you can. But you know what? You could be 80, 90% whole of an egg, maybe a couple of cracks, but the yolk's not going to leak out if you go out there and get the support you need. And I hope that everyone's watching tonight realizes we're here for you. Okay? That's our goal.
We make an impact, and this is how we start changing that culture. We've said this a couple of times in the previous ones. The more we have these conversations, I'm sure Nancy's going to get inundated again tomorrow with some other stuff. It's just, that's the nature of this. But these conversations that are changing the culture, that it is changing. And I'll speak on South Florida, and then we'll show the video. Is we make it probably over the last 5 or 8 years, it's become at the forefront now where mental health is. People are not afraid to have the conversation. So it's definitely making an impact. We're changing for sure.
Let's go to the videotape, fella.
All right. Let me see. I'm going to see if let me make this a little larger for us before we go. Okay. I guess.
It's always been clear to me that firefighters make sacrifices. And it's always been clear to me that their families do as well, because they let them out of the house every day to go to a very dangerous job. But it wasn't until 9/11 that I realized that they too could be vulnerable. And I think that if the first responders ask for help, it's our obligation to be there for them. The active firefighters right now are overwhelmingly younger. Over 80% of the firefighters today were not on the job on 9/11. So there's a shift, but the culture is steadfast. We're here for those firefighters who face danger every day, and we're here on their terms. So by that, I mean, while we don't speak the 10 code, we certainly know the dangers of the job. We know they live by their calendar. Their calendar is the most difficult thing, I think, for families. So because we are confidential, because we are in an old firehouse, there's a comfort knowing that we're here and we're here just for them.
The reason that people are so comfortable around Friends of Firefighters and this environment is because it is a firehouse setting. You're speaking amongst your peers, and that's what Friends of Firefighters does. It gives you that friendly atmosphere. You don't feel like somebody's judging you. It's more along the lines of friends helping friends.
We have a breakfast every month. It's open to all active and retired firefighters and their families. It's just a great place to come down to. It's like being in a firehouse again, especially for the retired guys. They can meet a lot of people that they know or have crossed their paths during their fire career. And I love it. I think it's a great place, chew the fat, just like the firehouse.
I think sometimes, if you came up to someone and said, "Do you need help? You okay? You okay?" That male ego or whatever, like, yeah, I'm fine. But, if you have a comfortable atmosphere and it's there if you want it, and that's pretty much how Nancy and Friends of Firefighters run their operation. And I think that works well.
Today, I see a lot more brothers going for counseling just so that they can ease their own mind about what's going on, which is good. Gentlemen, I wasn't brought up that way in the fire department. I was brought up, you don't run downtown to the medical office and look for a couple of days off if you have to get off, because we didn't know any better.
Before 9/11, if you were a guy who was in therapy, you were weak, you couldn't take it, blah, blah, blah. But that all changed after 9/11. And even today, we freely talk about it, that we've all gone to therapy. And I think it's a good thing now that it's out there. Guys still need it, and it's still there for them if they do need it.
I think that firefighters often don't know that they're experiencing trauma if they've been through something harrowing. And I've said this a lot, firefighters are great at helping other people. I mean, that's what they do. They're great at helping each other. They're not always adept at even knowing how to help themselves. So I think it's really important that they know that there's a place that they can come to where they will be respected. And I think they're even surprised by how much good it does them.
It actually takes strength to make the call to come in because it's the unknown. And oftentimes it's easier to go with what's familiar, even if it's painful. It's familiar and it's therefore safe. And so it's such a privilege. I can't think of another word, to be a part in any small way of helping that firefighter through whatever difficulty he or she is having. There you go.
Very nice.
Nice. Got some big kahunas in there, man. Heavy hitters, Liam Flaherty.
Cinquanta Cinque, what's up with that guy? He should be here with us right now.
No, I like that you said the big guys there, and then you name Liam and forget Steve Buscemi.
I was going to ask you after the show when you're going to get him on our show. When can you get Steve on the show?
So on that note, I'm going to do a hard sell. We have a chili cook-off coming up May 16th. That's my sister's birthday. And we have sponsorship opportunities, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and it will be here at the old firehouse. And we're pitting, I believe it's 12 firehouses against each other for the best chili.
Wow.
It's going to be great.
Who's going to be the judges?
You guys want to come and judge this thing?
The Gefilter, amazing.
Gefilter. I'm going for surgery in 2 weeks, so I won't be around.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
Nancy, I will take you up on that.
We are not going to have to filter chili.
Oh, I
love it. Let's just have the Italians cater the meal, will you?
If you guys, if you work companies or know of anybody that might want to sponsor anything, please go to our website, call me. I will give you all the information, but it's going to be great. And then we're hoping last year we did a bike ride in Ireland. Firefighters 37 FDNY, and I think it was 70 Irish firefighters rode their bikes from Dublin to Kinsale, where there was a beautiful ceremony on 9/11. They designed and grew beautiful trees, 343 trees with the names of each of our fallen. And they also have police officers. And so, of course, there's more than 343. And at this point, they're trying to add those who have been lost since then, but that exceeds the number of 400 for firefighters alone. So I don't know that they will, but we were hoping to do that this year, and we need sponsors. This year, we would go from Kinsale to Newcastle West, and the numbers are staggering. We have 70 FDNY firefighters that want to ride. We have 10 Boston firefighters that want to ride, and we have 100 Irish firefighters. And then next year it will be from Boston to New York, and Ireland plans on sending over 100 firefighters.
Wow,
so
that's
it's
very
going
nice.
to be bigger, but we can't get it off the ground without sponsors.
All right.
And that's my hard sell. Sorry, guys.
No,
that's okay. We're going to sponsor you. Is Danny Sheridan going?
I don't know. I don't know that he's going this year. We'll talk to Danny and find out.
I just booked him on the show.
Good guy.
He's got a lot of information. I have his book right here.
Another offer.
The only mistake I made, he had a podcast, and he told me before I went on the podcast, Mike, you can't curse. And of course, but it's okay.
Wait, you did another podcast?
What?
Well, Danny was doing some podcasts a while back.
Oh, okay. No, that's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm all
So
right.
I was not supposed to curse, and I cursed.
I did the same thing. They said, "Oh, children watch this." I said, "What the f did you invite me on for?"
Yeah.
So I messed up like within the first 5 seconds. I think so. Sorry.
There's a setting on YouTube that says no, it's not for children. So
Yeah, hit
Yeah,
that
just hit that button. No, it's not for kids. I put that on all the time.
Children, it's for firefighters.
Can I-
You know what I
Can I
mean?
ask a question? Kenny,
yes.
how much was that neon sign behind you?
So that was about $132 from
it?
Amazon. Yeah.
Amazon?
Amazon. I got
Try to get into
Amazon
man
like
voice.
Amazon kind of like was like sent me to like another link.
Really?
And, yeah. So I thought I was a genius when I came up with the name of the
No, it
vlog
looks-
podcast. So
Yeah. Maybe I'll. You know what I'm gonna get one? It says the other kitchen table. That's what
I was like, nobody's
No.
ever doing this. I got
The
it.
original kitchen table.
Oh, right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
we're gonna throw
Funny
that
story
out.
is I named it that because when I left the firehouse, the kitchen table was my therapy, and we were on this subject. And when I left there, I didn't really have the guys. Not that we talked about each other's feelings and stuff, but we all know what we were going through, and we just laugh. And you guys know. And then when you get home, and you don't have anybody to that much as
So
much.
you never
as you did,
watched
so.
our show and hear me say it's the only show that brings the firehouse kitchen table to you. But I did play you that what do you call it? All those clips of me saying
a
that,
little
right?
compilation. Yeah, you
I
played
did a
it.
compilation of me saying that like 100 times.
I must have missed those episodes.
Yo, before we go, we got to do the book, please, for my
All
boy.
right, really quick, I just want to run something past you guys really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
And get your thoughts. Still on the topic. I don't know, Chief, maybe you know him or remember him. We all know that Captain Bill Gustin killed himself. Well, he passed away a few weeks ago. But I don't think everybody knows that he actually killed himself. He was, I want to say he was 74, 15 something years on the job. I've run into a few people that are actually angry with him. He's a guy that, he's comparable to Chief Dunn down here in South Florida. If you guys know when I made
Nando,
that.
you got to put your microphone closer. You're cutting in and out or something.
Sorry. How's that? Is that better?
Better.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, where did I leave off?
He's comparable to our
Chief Dunn upstairs there, in the right man in the right corner for South Florida. We compare him. So what I've come to find out is, well, people are starting to talk about it. If a guy like him who loves the fire service so much that if he's capable of doing this and taking his own life, what's stopping anybody else? So I don't want it to be a negative effect, but it got me thinking that when two people had actually mentioned that to me after this, so I'm like, you know something, I'm getting ready to do. We're going to have a show coming up. I says, let me pitch it to them and see if it really has a place in for a quick little conversation. I mean, I don't know what you guys think if I explained it well enough, but it was besides the anger that people are concerned now that if somebody of his caliber could do it, what's to stop somebody else?
I don't think.
Can I make a suggestion, Gonzo?
What do you got?
Why don't you make a challenge coin instead?
Well, they actually, Miami-Dade's very, very supportive of their people. At Coob's actually, there's a sticker here that they have for him.
Right.
And I think, if I remember correctly, I think they were going to make a coin, but I can pass that
The
along.
reason I
Sure.
say that, Gonzo, I mean, wherever I go, can I trade a Rescue 4 for this or that? So all these coins are really valuable to collectors. So if you want to keep the Chiefs in mind forever, I go for the coin.
It's not so much in that. I'm just worried about the impact that it's going to have people mentally, kind of looking at somebody.
This is what I think, man. That suicide doesn't have a specific genre of people. It can affect anybody. It can affect the great guy. It can affect the guy down the block. It can affect the garbage man. So he may have been a great man, but I don't think it's picky. What I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I think they kept that quiet for a little while, but I think he was diagnosed with something where people were using the word that he made a tactical decision with his life.
Right.
Wow.
But if I can just say this, this is an extraordinary man from what you're describing. And this should not take away his successes and his wisdom and his help. I'm sure in his career, he's helped people probably survive. And that really is what needs to be the takeaway after the anger dies down, which it will. So,
remember his greatness, not what happened.
Well, that's actually, I was just going to say
Absolutely.
that when they started his ceremony, they said, let's remember him by what he's done, his impact to the fire service, what he did during his life, not how he ended it.
But also how he ended it. Wait a minute. That starts a conversation where there wasn't one before. So maybe they can use this as
That's what I'm saying. A
right?
jump point.
Exactly. And to put something in place so that they have somebody to call. Make sure you have a structure put in place now that, people can call each other. Maybe name it after him.
Gustin Hotline. There you go. Make it the Gustin Hotline.
The Gustin facility. The Gustin.
And you know what, Gonzo? Play it forward, okay? Don't use it as a negative, as Nancy was.
I know. I've
you play it forward.
I didn't hear the negative. I heard the pain.
Right.
I heard the pain of losing somebody so valuable as people are, and I also hear that you after something like this, you're empty-handed. There are no words. The anger is a natural reaction to that, but after a little bit of time, because you do need to be in that place, you do need to feel the anger. You need to feel whatever it is that's coming up, but then turn it around and use what has happened, what he has done, as an avenue to reach more people and say, remember the pain that we all felt. Let's prevent each other from living that again.
For sure.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
All right,
Amen, mother.
Say it again.
I thought you said amen, mother, and I'm going, wait a minute.
So, all right. So you want to pull up?
One second. I know we usually do a tip of the day.
Yeah.
So my tip of the day for mental health awareness: play it forward, be proactive, and if someone tells you it can't be done, make it done.
There you go.
Yeah. And if it's too heavy, share the load.
For sure.
Yep.
Absolutely.
John was just telling me that the other day.
What's that?
Share the load.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Boom. Oh!
Many hands make light work.
She knew it was coming, too. She knew it was coming.
That's disgusting.
Stand up, Kevin.
I don't.
God, put up the book. I'm digressing.
Oh my God! Here we let's go. Boom! There it is.
An insider's guide to mentoring the fire officer. There's my boy Lee Shapiro. I got a signed copy. Great guy. Where do we find it, Gons? I love this whole family. Oh, there we are. Look at us.
That's where you find it. I believe it said it was available on Amazon, right?
Correct. And fire engineering, I think, both.
Oh yeah, fire engineering. I did see it at their booth at FDIC. So yes.
Yep. Great man. Great fire officer. His sons are hard charge. Both sons hard charges. We love that family.
I told him I need a copy at a discounted rate, please.
Oi, another Jew, Mike.
Come on.
Five finger
Cramp
discount.
it up.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that, I'm going to. This is Danny Sheridan's book, and he's coming up on the show, you said, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can see it. Put it Fire Scene Discipline by Danny Sheridan. Look for that on Amazon. I'm sure you'll find it.
Nancy, mail it to me so I can read it.
And he'll mail it back.
I'm only kidding.
Oh,
They'll mail it back when I'm done.
Danny.
We're going to share it.
You're talking about Mike having alligator
Let me
arms?
ask
Oh, look at you.
really quick.
I'm only
Vinny.
kidding. I started kidding.
I just want to ask Chief Dunn, how many books have you written thus far? I know you just turned in a manuscript. What number was it?
I think it's 12.
Oh,
12.
Oh, man, I gotta get my
Those
office
are rookie
back.
numbers. You need to get those numbers up.
I didn't know we were in the presence of such a...
That's how.
I spoke to somebody from Boston who's on the job in Boston, and he said, Kevin, his name is, and he said that Vinny's books have saved lives without question.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
yeah.
He looks forward to meeting Vin. We're going to be going up to Boston and sharing exactly how, and it's a private conversation between he and Chief Dunn. But Vin, you've done more to help your brothers and sisters than anybody.
And you know.
Well, I
Nancy, the key about Vinny Dunn.
All the things you guys did, it was out there.
No.
I listened and watched you guys fight fires, and I wrote it down. It was easy.
Yeah.
You know,
No, the key with Vinny Dunn, he's a human being. I'll leave it at that. He's
All right.
he's a firefighter's chief. He listens, and of course he makes a couple of bucks off the books. That's fine. I don't mind.
Yeah, you got to make a few.
hey,
shekels.
Yeah,
let
of
me
course.
tell you something. Thank God for my pension. There's no money in writing books. You know, we get a bestseller, but I don't. You know, it's a labor of love. It's
Yeah, I'll get you
as
$12.
anybody to
Maybe
write
the
a book.
13th book. The
I'll get
13th
you
book will make
selling
the money.
T-shirts. There's some money in T-shirts. There's some money in T-shirts.
The 13th book.
All right.
Johns, pull up. We have one more.
I'm sorry. We got one more.
Gotta run.
There it is. There it is. There we go.
All right. So listen, if you want to come see me hobbling about, I will be in a, I don't know what kind of boot to put me, whatever it is, but the Fire Expo, the 53rd annual Fire Expo hosted by Lancaster County Firemen's. Fire Expo will showcase more than 250 emergency service exhibits featuring the world's leading manufacturers of fire, emergency medical service, EMS, rescue, and public safety equipment. Come out there and see me and Ruffy. Oh, that's actually the date of your chili cook-off. We'll be in Harrisburg, May 16th, 2025, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., May 17th, 2025, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Come out and watch me sit in the chair as I make Ruffy do all the work with my brand new spanking knee. There we go. I want to thank everybody for coming on. I can't tell you how many people in the chat said this is vital, unbelievable information. And a lot of people gave. So I will be mailing you the check of whatever they gave. Plus, I'm going to pad it a little bit. You know what I mean, Nancy? I'll pad that thing a little bit.
I know where you live, Kev. Thank you.
And then I'll follow it up with another sponsor for the chili thing if you send that to me. I'll send out two checks.
That's going to be fun.
I left it in the banner, so we have it in there too.
Guys, dig in the pocket. This is vital stuff. You heard it all. Send it. Go over we go, Guns. Send it, Guns.
Send it. Oh, wait. Where it is. There it is. Let's go. We need a lot of these shekels coming your way.
There's another one. There we go.
Get the shekels out.
Get the shekels out.
Everybody chip in.
Chip in. Yes. That's what I'm saying. I want to thank everybody. I call him double L, L squared, LL, living legend, Vince Dunn.
Yeah.
Ronzoni, the man who knows everybody. He's the most well-known firefighter on the job. Nancy, the beautiful Carbone, who she had me at hello. We got Kenny D, the creator of the Firehouse Kitchen Table. Thank you for coming in and sharing that with us. And hi, my buddy, my Jewish buddy, Mikey Milner.
Shalom.
Shalom. We can do another one of these in 3 or 4 months. And so I get to see Nancy's beautiful face again. So send the money, send the money, send the money. I don't know what we have next week, Guns. What do we have?
You know what? I'm going to have to look for you because I don't think there's anybody on the calendar.
I think Mike Puzaferi wrote me back. You want to hear what he said?
It's May 1st. There's nothing on the calendar right now. I know you have you have somebody. I know you do, but there's nothing on the calendar.
All right, we'll find somebody. I'll drag somebody up.
Yeah,
don't worry about it.
For sure.
Guys, thank you guys for coming on. Love you guys. Really appreciate it.
So much, guys. It's a great show tonight, as always.
Thank you very much for having me.
Nobody. You're going to be coming in a lot, Kenny. Don't worry about it. Louis is going to be up playing golf.
Something's going to come up.
Hunting, killing stuff. Don't worry about it.
I got to get the thing for over here.
Yep, I'm going to send it to you. I got it up at my office.
All right.
All right, guys. Until next time. You know what I always say. Stay low and go. God bless you all.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Thanks for everybody for tuning in.
Peace and love, brothers and sisters. Peace and love.
You got it. Remember, it's not about being your best. It's about being better today than you were yesterday. You guys have a great night. I had to wait for him to make fun of me because I had to pause because that's what's going to happen.
That's why he's a thief.
That's
yeah, right.
All right, guys.
Have a good night, about what you are today. All right, good.
Anyway, have a good night, everyone.